Have you ever felt like the universe just hit the reset button on your entire life, regardless of whether or not you were ready for it? That's exactly what this new moon in Virgo on August 23rd is bringing. We're talking massive shakeups, shocking plot twists, and some of the biggest fresh starts of the entire year. But this energy is not all sunshine and green lights. There's a disruptive square to Uranus and a powerful outer planet YOD, aka the finger of God, pointing right at this new moon. That means sudden changes, old boundary issues finally demanding a reset, and a whole lot of emotional reactivity bubbling to the surface. If you've been waiting for certainty about the outcome or for somebody else's approval before taking a big leap, the planets are telling you loud and clear that's just not going to happen. This new moon is about trusting yourself and embracing the unknown. In this video, I'll break down exactly what this new moon in Virgo square Uranus and that intense YOD configuration really mean for you personally for the month ahead, including a forecast for all 12 signs. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an important astrology forecast, tutorial, or update. I post new content regularly to help you keep up with what's going on in the cosmos. Before we dive even deeper, make sure you also download my free Astrology 101 quick reference guide. The link is down in the description below so you can understand where all of your natal chart placements are, which will help you to get way more out of not just this free forecast that I'm giving you today, but all of my forecasts, all of my tutorial videos. This guide has a worksheet that helps you understand and work through all of your natal chart placements. It has a quick reference for the signs, planets, houses, aspects, essential dignities, and so much more. 100% free of charge. Link is in the description below. And so what's particularly interesting about this new moon is that it's happening at 0 degrees in the sign of Virgo. The sun has freshly moved into Virgo and it's conjoining with the moon here. And that's the only reason that it's able to make a square with Uranus, which is also just freshly moved in to the sign of Gemini, where it's starting the very first bits of its 8-year transit. This new moon is highlighting the fresh changes, the fresh shakeups, the fresh disruptions that we need in order. Way more interesting, this Gemini energy does not want to get bored, and we're never going to feel bored over the next 8 years with this Uranus shakeup. We're going to have a lot of things coming out of the blue, a lot of unexpected energies and situations and opportunities. And so this new moon is highlighting that, but it's also highlighting the need to change something and to do it kind of abruptly. It's the first big change, the first big stimulation of something new that needs to come into our lives, or a structure that needs to be broken down or broken free from. And this is the prelude to the eclipses, because this is also the beginning of the eclipse season. That's right. As soon as we hit this new moon on the 23rd, we are officially in another eclipse season. This new moon is in Virgo. The eclipses are in Virgo and Pisces. And this is the new moon that starts the lunar cycle that brings us into that blood moon total lunar eclipse that's happening on the 7th of September. And so this is where it all begins. But there is a big change, a big discomfort, a big frustration that we have to address before we can even do anything else here. And so that's first and foremost with this new moon. So the new moon is going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel exciting, and it's going to feel like something's coming out of nowhere and forcing you to make a big dramatic change. However, the YOD is going to make it so you're not going to feel good about that change. The square is going to make it so you don't feel good about that change, because some things that are going to come up are going to be very abrupt, unexpected. It's going to be very disruptive. It's going to be a little disorienting. That's just the nature of these Uranus squares, where the thing that you expect to be the change is not going to be the change that comes from this. It's going to be that other thing, that like third variable that you could never have predicted, that comes out of nowhere and swoops in and forces you to shift something or make a really big pivot in an area that you weren't really considering making those changes to just yet. That's the first part of this discomfort. But the second part, this YOD is a very big energy, and these inconjunctions are something that many astrologers don't talk about. They don't understand fully. Inconjunctions are considered minor aspects, but they are anything but minor. They can be the key to a birth chart, and they can be the key to understanding why a certain transit is hitting you in a way that's just psychologically very trying. And I actually have a video coming out this Saturday that's going to teach you all about inconjunctions, where I'm going to go through all of the planets and what they look like and how they act in your chart when they are in an inconjunction, so you can understand maybe why you're struggling in certain areas. So definitely, again, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, if you have inconjunctions or yods in your chart. But for the purpose of this video, the inconjunctions essentially represent this psychological issue where there needs to be a compromise made between two areas of your chart that have nothing in common, and two areas of your life that are incongruent and have trouble working well together, where you're trying to make things mesh when they just won't mesh, where you have to give up something when you want to have it all. And with the new moon energy, there's this new beginning, this really big reset at 0 degrees. New, fresh, newborn baby energy with the new moon in Virgo, where what we are seeding in terms of the intentions, what we are cultivating throughout this lunar cycle is so new to us that we don't have a context for it, because it's something we've never encountered before. And this inconjunction, especially from Pluto, is going to make it so we have a really intense fear of uncertainty that's going to be bubbling up around the change that we need to make, around this reset, around the new beginnings that are absolutely going to take hold over the course of this month, because not only is this new moon showing it, but also eclipse season. So Pluto inconjunctions, they indicate a need to control a situation and a desire to control outcomes that can't necessarily be predicted or controlled, especially in this certain circumstance here. Because of the Uranus involvement, we're not going to know how this is going to end. We know how it's going to begin. It's going to begin with a change. It's going to begin with a spark of insight. It's going to begin with a frustration that we cannot tolerate anymore, that forces our hand and makes us do something differently. But the outcome is still yet to be seen. This is very fresh, very new. And so the hesitation here, the area where you're going to struggle psychologically and emotionally, is the area where you're trying to manipulate and control outcomes when we are in eclipse season. This is a YOD. What's going on is fated. What's going on is predetermined and predestined. What's going on here is part of our path that we need to follow. And there's no going around that. With astrology, it's always a combination of fate and free will. But when the nodes are involved, fate is the stronger energy. The free will is whether or not we're going to accept our fate or whether we're going to be dragged through it, kicking and screaming, right? So this is what we have to remember here. We're going to want to control the outcome. We're going to want to know all the details. We're going to want to have it all figured out and planned out and mapped out. That map is going to get lit on fire. Try not to worry too much about that. The outcome of the new moon, the outcome of what's seeded now and throughout the entire eclipse season, is the outcome that your soul needs in order to reach its next stage of evolution, in order to learn something, in order to get you on the path that you are destined to be on in this lifetime. And it might not look like what you thought it would, but it's going to look like what you need, and you'll realize that a little bit later on down the line. So that's what tends to happen with these types of energies in general. The other thing that's going to be going on is the moon is involved. It's a new moon, so we're already internalizing things. When a moon is in an inconjunction, it indicates that there is a tendency to either repress and bottle up and hold in your emotions, or overexpress and explode them everywhere. And this is going to be a big vacillation between the two. You're going to be feeling all the feels way too much right now because of the Neptune inconjunction and because the moon is involved. But you're also going to want to lock that down. So even though you're feeling all the things and picking up on a lot, and your psychic radar is probably going to be off the charts, you're still going to be hesitant to share. You're still going to be hesitant to express those emotions. But if you've been bottling it up, if you've been holding it in, if you haven't been sharing when you need to share, it's going to come out of you in the most weird, wild and inappropriate ways. And so you do have to account for that and make sure that you are finding healthy outlets for your emotions around the time of this new moon, which is around the time of the 23rd. So that's going to be more on and around 3 days before and after the new moon. Everything else is like a bigger span of time, especially the Uranus energy and the big shakeup. So we can expect to start feeling the changes ensue around the 22nd, because we got to get the sun in Virgo here, 22nd, 23rd. But it's going to linger for several days after that, really for about a week or so, where it's going to continue to unfold as we move into the eclipse season, and that's going to bring another wild card energy. So that's what's going on here for this new moon. It might not feel the most warm and fuzzy, but it is bringing us the greatest opportunity to shift things in a different direction. So if that's what you're looking for, this is your new moon. You can absolutely set intentions for this new moon. It's just that the outcome might be a little different than what you intend. That's always the case in eclipse season. So you just have to be okay with that. And the journey to get there is going to be a little all over the place. It does not mean that you can't accomplish things. It doesn't mean that you can't set those intentions. It just means that you have to be extra flexible and adaptable during this new moon and throughout the month ahead. So before we dive into the forecast for all 12 signs, I want to mention 2 things real quick. Maybe 3. First one is that right now through the 29th of August at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, I am offering my biggest discount on the Cosmic Academy of Astrology ever. This is my full-scale astrology program where you get all of the knowledge, all of the support, all of the feedback that you need to become a master astrologer. And we offer the option to get a certificate of completion at the end of the program so you can prove your knowledge to the world. This program has 6 levels, and for the first time ever, you can enroll in one individual level, or you can enroll and bundle the entire program and save up to 62%. But the individual levels are on sale. Level 1 is all about mastering all the nuances of accurate, attuned natal chart readings so you can give them with confidence and go on to make predictions when you join us in level 2, which is all about transits. And we get super, super detailed here. We help you to get high levels of accuracy and understand how transits impact us all in a very unique and individualized way. Level 3 is freaky accurate readings with more intermediate astrology. That includes house rulerships, which is where you're going to get the nuance and detail to make very vivid stories and interpretations for your clients where they're like, how did you know that? That's crazy. Level 4 is all about yearly and monthly predictions. We do annual and monthly perfections, which is a timing technique that shows activations in your chart year to year, month. We also do solar and lunar returns. Again, it shows the biggest themes and energies for your year and month ahead. That's going to be a big component of looking kind of bigger picture at things before you narrow it down with the details of transits to prove your predictions in a variety of ways, which helps to increase accuracy. Then we go on to secondary progressions in level 5. That is a new course that I am going to be teaching fully this fall, and you'll get that when you join us in the academy now. And there's already a couple of lessons in there about secondary progressions of the moon. Level 6 is my favorite because it's all about honing in on your consultation skills and building your astrology business from the ground up, marketing, business strategy, how to actually like book clients in and set up your systems. All of that is included in addition to a bunch of example consultations, a bunch of really important insight into counseling skills in astrology. You guys might not know, but my background's in clinical psychology, so we cover that too. And if you join us for the whole academy, you get all of it. So again, link is down in the description below. I just had to walk you through it real quick because this is only happening for a short time, and I want to make sure that you take advantage and you're not emailing me a few days after, oh God, I missed it, because that always happens. I'm also doing a free live Q&A call on August 26th. You are invited. Ask your astrology questions. If you are somebody who is wanting to learn astrology, if you're struggling, if you're stuck in any area, free. You don't have to be a student of mine. You don't have to be in the academy. But if you are, you can still join us. The link for that is also down in the description below. You can ask your questions in advance too and get prioritized on the call, so that way you make sure that you get the answers you deserve. And before we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign to get a more holistic overview of the energy for the next couple of weeks ahead. Your rising sign will be the most predominant energy, your sun sign will be secondary, and your moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this energy will be more internalized and subjective. All right, so let's get into it. So for Aries and for Aries rising, you are getting a massive reset energy in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, daily routines, animals, service. All of the above are subject to change in the next month ahead, and this is a really great time to set intentions to shake things up when it comes to your day-to-day mundane routine experiences in your work or in your normal life. This is also a time where you might have a big reset with your health where a dramatic change occurs. It might not be the change that you're looking for, but it'll be the change that you need in order to shift your health in a better direction. There's definitely an energy of really wanting to hold on to the way things were, or wanting to hold on to a certain certainty around your health practices and routines, but you need to let that go and be a little bit more flexible. Also, your emotional health and well-being is going to be very important in the way that it contributes to your physical and overall health and well-being at the start of this lunar month around the 23rd. This could also be a really great time to shake things up by setting intentions for something new involving animals, or to change things if you are in maybe a caregiver role. This could also be a shakeup or a change when it comes to your work, or when it comes to your employees, especially if you're in a management position, or if you are somebody who is an employer, you own a business. This is a great time to set intentions to change the dynamic in your workplace. For Taurus and for Taurus rising. For Taurus, this new moon is happening in your 5th house, and this is probably one of the nicer placements for this new moon. There's definitely an energy here of wanting to set intentions and start something new that aligns with your passions, that aligns with the things that you love to do that bring you joy. There could also be a desire to start something new involving your children, or maybe to add a new child to your life. That might also come about very unexpectedly for some of you, and it's not something that you can really control the outcome of. So if that's not what you're aiming for, be careful. If it is what you're aiming for, congratulations. Not that everyone will get pregnant who's watching this, obviously. That's a very small subset of people. There's also an energy here where financial disruption is going to cause a change in the way that you entertain yourself, the way that you go out and do things, the way that you interact and engage with the world and have fun. And so that could be a big part of this as well. This is also a shakeup or a change that needs to happen involving romance in your sex life, where you might need to spice it up a little bit or do something that's completely outside the box or different from the norm for you. There could also be a really big desire to control a situation that's coming up involving your children. There's something new or a new phase in your connection or your relationship with your children or in their lives, and a change needs to happen. They might be acting more rebelliously or acting out or something like that, and there is this desire to really control what's going on. You do need to have appropriate boundaries with them. That's that Saturn energy coming into the mix, but you also can't control everything that they're doing and can't predict all of the outcomes for these changes, and so there needs to be a little bit of give here. For Gemini and for Gemini rising, this new moon in the sign of Virgo is happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property, and real estate. You could have a big move coming up, or a big career change, or both in the next month or so. This is an energy where you're feeling a little frustrated with your overall experience. Like, you're sick of the mundane. You're sick of things being how they were and how they are. You want some newness in your life. You're ready for a shakeup. You're ready for more variety. And part of that could be the desire to start something new involving your home or your place of living, or to shake things up literally by moving or by renovating, by feng shuiing your house, by redecorating in some way. Any of these things are a possibility. You just might not be able to fully control the circumstances or the outcome, or if you've been feeling that way but not acting on it, something can come in and force you to renovate or to change something in your living situation too. There's definitely a new beginning, a fresh start here involving family relationships, especially relationships with your parents. You might want to force it or control the way that it's going, or control the relationship in some way, and you're just not going to be able to predict how they're going to react to things, what's going to go on here. There does need to be a little bit of wiggle room with that, but still appropriate boundaries. Overall, though, this is a big time for change that starts behind the scenes, that starts in the home and reverberates out into other areas of your life later in this month. For Cancer and for Cancer rising. Cancer, you still have that Jupiter-Venus energy in your sign, so that's softening this a little bit. And this new moon is happening in your third house, which is a house that will trine your descendant, sextile your ascendant. And even if it's your sun or moon, this new moon is sextiling your sun or moon, especially if your sun or moon is at the beginning degrees in the sign of Cancer. And so this is going to be a little bit gentler on you. There might be something disruptive or something that's irking you subconsciously, unconsciously, behind the scenes, that could be forcing you to shift or change your mindset around something, and that could be a little bit disruptive or a little bit uncomfortable. You might also be having sleep disruptions, really wild dreams, nightmares, things like that. Those are trying to tell you something. There's a message that's trying to come through for you, Cancer. Trying to control that message or trying to deny what it is and make it something that it's not because it's uncomfortable for you, that's going to be problematic. There could also be a new beginning or a fresh start that's involving an educational pursuit. Maybe you're enrolling in the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, and I would say that's mostly a good thing. However, there is going to be a lot of ups and downs with it. It's not going to be a smooth trajectory. It's not going to be like you get it all done all at once in the path that you thought that you would. There's going to be some twists and turns that definitely come up along the way. This is also potentially some sort of new beginning or reset if you're trying to buy a new vehicle or change something involving your commute. But again, it doesn't go the way that you think it is. There's a frustration that causes you to need to change it or want to change it, and you're trying to control the outcome, but something more aligned with what you need is trying to come into the mix. And so it might not be that special car that you think that you want. There might be something else that shows up that works better, or it might not be the trip that you think that you want to take. Something might show up and force you to take a few days and go on a road trip somewhere, and it could end up being exactly what your soul needs. And so keep that in mind. There could also be a bottling up of emotions that leads to a communication outburst. That could be on your end, or you could be on the receiving end of that around the time of the new moon. For Leo and for Leo rising, this new moon is happening in your second house, which is the house of money, material possessions, things that you own, your savings, your investments, things like that too. There's a disruptive energy going on here involving your finances around the time of the new moon. It's like you want to start something or seed something or do something new or different than what you've been doing before when it comes to the way that you earn money, save money, spend money. There could be a big purchase that you're saving for that you're intending to finally take the big leap on this month, or there could be an unexpected expense that comes up out of nowhere that forces you to have to do something financially. If that's the case, don't try to control the outcome. And it actually might be like a partner or a significant other or somebody that you're close to in your life that's trying to control the outcome for you. You have to control the outcome. It's not about them and what they want, and it's not about getting outside approval from somebody who you think is better and wiser than you. It's about knowing in your heart what you need to do with this and creating the change that you need to create to liberate yourself financially and create better circumstances for yourself moving forward. If it's a disruption that's negative to your finances, this is a wake-up call that something needs to change and that you need to be the catalyst for changing that. If it's a good disruption, but it's still disruptive, same thing, right? This is like you needing to branch out and take responsibility and be more independent financially. So all of these things could be potentials. You could be starting a new money-making venture or a new career or a new job or a new business or something along those lines, or you could just be selling something. If that's the case, again, you're not going to be able to micromanage the outcome or predict how it's going to turn out, but the change does need to happen. For Virgo and for Virgo rising, this new moon is happening in your sign, Virgo, so it's all pointing to you. This is a massive cosmic reset, and especially if it's your birthday around the 23rd, this is going to be a very interesting year ahead. Lots of change, lots and lots of change. Nothing next year is going to look like the way that it does this year. And if it's not your birthday, this is still a big change for you, Virgo. So this is an energy where you need to be the catalyst to change something in your world, in your own life, in your own reality. There's a frustration or a disruption coming from career or from your public reputation. Maybe there's a disruption to your reputation and somebody's saying stuff and it changes things and it makes you have to rethink who you are and the way that you're showing up out in the world. There could be a disruptive influence from an authority figure that comes in and causes you to have to rethink and reset the way that you're going about something. Or it could just be that you're ready for a big change in your career and this is the first catalyst, the first energy that's like, all right, I need to actually start taking those steps to become more independent in the work that I'm doing. Maybe the first steps to start your own business. You're going to want to know how it's going to turn out. You're going to want to especially know how it's going to turn out financially, but you're not going to be able to know that just yet. And just know that you do need to start making that change though. It's not going to happen all at once. It's going to take 8 years for the change to fully manifest and solidify because there's going to be many chapters to this story of evolution and of this awakening that you're going to be having in this area of what it is that you're putting out into the world at large. And that could even be your legacy. It doesn't have to be a career. It could be, even if you're retired, like the legacy you leave behind after your working years. So something here is shifting. And what you're putting out into the world is going to be very different than what you're used to and very different than what other people are used to. It's going to be ahead of its time. It might be viewed as eccentric. Other people might not understand it, but that's okay. They will. It's just going to take, like I said, a few years for everybody to get on board with it. And then for Libra and for Libra rising, this new moon on August 23rd in Virgo is a time for you to take a breather. This is a big reset on a deep internal, unconscious, subconscious level. This is a reset down to your core. This is not the time to go out and do something crazy. This is where you need to rest and recover and prepare yourself for the change, for the shift, for the transition that is going to be coming in the weeks ahead, especially as we come into the eclipses and the full eclipse season. There is something here where you've been rethinking or needing to make a change when it comes to your religious beliefs or value systems or your spiritual practices. That's going to come up in a really big way where there's a reset in that area where you're going to start looking into things that you never would have thought of or wanted to look into, or that you maybe thought was super weird or eccentric or just unusual, and it wasn't something that spiked your interest. Now all of a sudden you're looking into these strange types of spiritual beliefs, you're looking into different religious value systems, you're branching out, and your old paradigm about the way the world works is being shattered, and that could be a big part of this and what's going on internally for you, and you might need to process that around the time of this new moon. This is also that YOD energy. There's something that you really want to control and have certainty around in your romantic life or in your partnerships. It's just not going to happen in that way that you want it to. You do have to create better boundaries. There's an energy here where you've been taking on too much responsibility for other people's stuff, and your boundaries have been too loose when it comes to your closest connections with other people, especially romantically. So there is a tightening of boundaries that's going to become apparent, but it's only going to manifest and work for you if you're taking that time out to contemplate, to breathe, to reset around the time of the new moon, which is on the 23rd of August. Then for Scorpio and Scorpio rising, the new moon in the sign of Virgo is happening in your 11th house. So this is, again, not a bad placement for the new moon. This is going to be sextiling your ascendant sun or moon. It's going to be trining your descendant if you're a Scorpio rising. I don't hate this, but there is something going on here where for you in particular, the fear of uncertainty is going to be really amped up. There's something going on here where there's a change going on in maybe your partner's resources or in your finances. There's something going on here where there's a disruption psychologically that is drudging up some stuff from your past, like old traumas, old fears, especially old anxieties that are not connected to the present moment. And it's coming up in the most unexpected and wild ways. There's also an energy here where this new moon is a reset when it comes to your friendships, where you're going to want to start branching out and setting intentions to find your tribe and to start meeting people who are different than you, who are different than your normal social circle. So if your normal social circle is full of people that are wild and strange and eccentric, you might go in the other direction. If your social circle is full of people who are normies, you're going to want some non-normies. So it's going to be dependent on what you already have in place when it comes to the people that you interact with, the people that you socialize with, the people you call your friends. There is something here where you're going to want to really control something involving your home, your family, your property, your relationship with your parents maybe, that you're just not going to be able to have that certainty or that control over. And it could also be that there's a need for certainty in a certain friendship or a certain situation with a friend that you're just not going to get. There could also be emotional outbursts that occur from you to your friends or at you from your friends. I wouldn't take that too personally if you're on the receiving end. It's something that's been bottled up and it's going to be coming out in a way that's just not appropriate to the situation at hand. And it's not that they mean everything that they're saying necessarily. It's that their emotions are heightened. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this new moon is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career, public reputation. It's the work that you do out in the world and the legacy that you leave behind after your working years. There's a change needed here. There's a reset needed here. This is the time to start shifting in a new direction when it comes to work-related connections and partnerships. However, there could be a partnership or a person who's inserting themselves into your life that's disrupting things for you in your career, and it might not feel good. And yes, a change needs to happen, but it might not need to happen in the way that they dictate, and it might not need to happen in the way that you think it needs to happen. So there's this really intense need for certainty when it comes to your career path and what's coming up for you in the future, but you're not going to get that certainty. And there's a change that you need to make in your career path, but you're not going to, again, know what that's going to lead to exactly or how that's going to come about, but you do need to start shifting in that direction and making small changes to open up energy to get there. There could also be a disruptive energy involving a partner, a significant other, or somebody that you're really close to that could come up around the time of this new moon. It's showing you that something about that relationship needs to change or that you need to do something new together. And then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this new moon is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of adventure. It's the house of travel. It's the house of your mindset, your belief systems, your philosophies, your religious value systems that shape and frame the way that you view your reality. And so something about that is up for a massive reset. Your mind is going to be changed about something that you once thought was a deeply held value or belief. There's also potentially a disruptive energy around travel plans. It could be that you're wanting to travel, but there's a lot of craziness going on in your work or with your health, or maybe you've taken on a caregiver role and you have to do some things that you weren't expecting to do, where day-to-day life is chaotic and it's going to make that trip hard, or your day-to-day life is chaotic and it's making that trip necessary. That could be the other end of the spectrum here. You might not be able to control the outcome. There might be some financial uncertainty that's blocking you from making the leap, from doing the thing that you need to do to shake yourself out of complacency that's blocking you from actually traveling or changing something in your job so that way you can have the ability to travel or do the thing that you want to do. There could also be boundaries that are needing to be set in your home environment in order to make that a reality so you can go out and get that higher education. You can take that course. You can go to that place. You can study that deep wisdom that you've been wanting to study. Whatever this is bringing up for you, it's like you need something deeper and higher right now. And the new moon is making that very apparent. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this new moon is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of death. It's the house of psychological intensity and fear. It's the house of old wounds and traumas that bubble up and control you in the present moment, even if they have nothing to do with the present moment. And so there could be a need here to dive a little bit deeper. The new moon is always very contemplative. There is a psychological healing that needs to take place that is going to be stimulated by a disruption that could potentially be coming from the area of romance, from the area of sex and sexuality, or from the area of your connection and relationship to your children. There could also be like a fear or an anxiety around your children or what your children are doing, or the fact that your children are becoming more independent, or they're just being a little bit more unruly or a little bit more rebellious. There's a change going on here involving your connection with your children, if applicable to you, if you have children, that is triggering some sort of fear that is not connected to the actual risk of the present moment. So that's something to pay attention to, work through, heal through around the time of this new moon. This could also be a big reset that's needed when it comes to your finances, especially joint finances in marriage, inheritance, drawing up a will, right? Maybe that's what it is. Like, you're wanting to make sure that your children are taken care of, and you have to think about those things like life insurance, a living trust, or a will. And it's just causing a lot of stuff to come up because you have to think about these things. There could also be the need to do something new when it comes to your investments, getting insurance, or something along those lines. There could also be a disruptive message that comes through involving a bill, debt, or taxes that could cause you to freak out a little bit, and you really want to be certain about what's going to happen, but you're not going to know how it all plays out. That doesn't mean it's going to happen in a way that's bad. This could definitely bring a big release where maybe you could negotiate a debt or get out of a situation that's sticky financially, but you're going to have to let go and let God and just see how things unfold. There's a definite need to surrender here. Also, having really good, clear boundaries and communication with these people is going to be important as well. Finally, for Pisces and for Pisces rising, this new moon is happening in your 7th house, which is the house of relationships. And so this is a massive reset in your one-to-one connections with people, especially your romantic relationships, especially with contractual legal agreements that bind you to others. This is the time where you might want to enter into some sort of agreement or arrangement. I wouldn't recommend it if you're wanting it to turn out in a very specific way. The way that you think this is going to go, this partnership is going to go, is not how it's going to go. Especially if the contract you're signing, the agreement that you're entering into, has to do with your living situation, or it's with your parents or family members or something along those lines. That's where it's going to get a little dicey. There's a definite need, though, to change something in your relationship, especially family relationships, or there could be a need or a frustration that's coming up that's creating a need to move or change location with your partner, especially, or to change something involving a bad roommate situation. That could be part of it too. There's definitely going to be this need to want to really know what your partner's thinking. If you are in partnership, want to not necessarily control them, but understand them so you can predict what they're going to do, because there's something going on here where you're feeling unstable or unsteady in this connection, where the need for certainty is becoming more apparent and more anxiety provoking. You don't need to know exactly what they're doing, how they're going to do it, how it's going to end up. Whatever's going on now is happening for a reason. It doesn't mean that the relationship is ending or something bad is going to happen. Right now it's about trust, and it's about creating space for flexibility so you can make the changes that you need to make or the adjustments you need to make in those relationships or in those contracts. Definitely having good financial boundaries in relationships around the time of this new moon is really important, though. So if someone comes up to you and, I want to borrow some money from you and I need it because I'm moving, right? Let's make this very literal to the chart. I would say probably not, right? So like, you need to have really good, clear boundaries when it comes to the material realm around the time of this new moon as well. All right, you guys, that is it. My forecast for all 12 signs for the new moon in Virgo. Comment below. Let me know how I did. Let me know how you're doing and how this new moon energy is playing out for you personally. If you haven't already done so, watch this video floating around somewhere up here for the Uranus in Gemini transit. This is an 8-year transit that is being super amplified at the time of this new moon. Also, I'd love to have you join me in the Cosmic Academy of Astrology while enrollment is discounted through 11:59 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time on August 29th. Make sure you also like this video, share it with a friend, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.